this has been a long week. So, I've gotten a couple of comments. One of them said that the flail has too short of a handle. In history, the flails had longer handles to avoid whacking yourself. So I might make 2 versions of the flail. I don't know yet. Alright, so another comment I got was about falling. Falling animation, falling left, falling right. They said to put one leg in front of the other, try that out. I don't think I quite accomplished what they said, but I'll give it another go. And the last comment was about a version of Blender I'm using. I'm using an older version of Blender, but I am trying out new Blender, just so I don't have to toggle back and forth between old and new Blender for exporting. But I'm so used to old Blender. I know everything I need to know in order to accomplish what I need to accomplish. I just know it all. What I've accomplished this week was making some new movement code. I changed move and slide with snap. And with move and slide with snap, all of a sudden you don't get that issue where he's sort of skipping down the hill. He sticks with the hill as he goes downhill. Now there was a tutorial on how to do this, but I'll link it down below, but it's missing something very important. What it's missing is it's missing how to keep him from slowly sliding down that slope when you're not noticing it. I walked away for 15 minutes, came back. I was at the top of the hill, I ended up at the bottom of the hill. So the way to solve that is by adding in these 2 extra arguments, true and 1. You add those in, it's solved. I figured that out because just by trial and error, I changed the 4 to a 1. It was better. I'm having a problem with the world environment. Whenever I add in a sky or a skybox, whenever I do that, it creates a blue hue on the player. Most people say turn down sky contribution. That's not doing it. For some reason, that only affects the landscape. I don't know why. I really don't know. And then when I turn down something called the background energy, turn down the background energy, it only affects the player and the other objects in the scene, but doesn't affect the terrain. I don't know what's up with this inconsistency. If you have a solution, let me know. Otherwise, I spent about 2 days scouring the materials, and I ended up feeling like Nicolas Cage in one of those movies where he freaks out. If you look up Nicolas Cage losing it, you know how I felt during those 2 days trying to solve this problem. The temporary solution, and remember this is a temporary solution, is I have a physical skybox, because that doesn't create the blue hue on the player. I created a blue fog, which I actually like. It makes the background look really cool. The hills and mountains way off in the distance. Creates a real life effect. I don't know if I capture it accurately, but I really like how it looks here. As I said earlier, I was making some new animations. One of them was a response to a comment. The falling left and falling right. A lot of these animations look a little janky, but give me a little bit of time and I'll make them look right. Just look at this footage here. And the animations, every animation you see in this footage, I made. So there is hope. There is hope. Have faith in me. I can make decent animations. And this new sword attacking animation I've made isn't that bad. It's just that the timing is off. Hopefully in the next video update, maybe in a week or so, I'll have this attack animation much better. So I created an enemy, but this time I didn't want to have to write up a whole new script for every new enemy I put in. So I wanted to have multiple types of enemies. Orcs, knights, goblins, skeletons, you name it. So Godot has something called the class system. In the class, I write up code, and that code gets shared with the skeleton, the knight, the goblin, the orc. I had to recall how to make them navigate. You use the navigation mesh under the navigation node, and that will help draw a line from where they need to go, from where they are to where they need to go. Most people say that coding from the animation player is heresy, Godot heresy, but I've been having a lot of trouble with the animation tree, mostly with blending animations. So I might be doing more work than I have to be, but I'm coding from the animation player. I created a state machine out of the match statement, and basically I just create a bunch of booleans, true false statements, and they change depending on what's going on. That puts the character, whatever they are, into a different state. Now for the player character, he has no class in this game, so I can just state the variables like normal, and I also can just state the animation instructions like normal too. But for the enemies, that don't work so well. So for the enemies, you have a class where the code is being run, but the specifications have to be on that particular opponent's code. I don't know if it makes sense to every one of you. And it may sound like I know exactly what I'm talking about, but as you can see here in this footage, I ran into a lot of issues. I eventually got this problem solved where he's constantly falling over by using something called a signal from the animation player, telling the code when the animation is over to stop playing that animation. I created a castle last night. That was one of the last things I did. I did it last minute. Ended up taking hours longer. I wanted to get a video out on Saturday, and it's already past noon. I wanted to get the video out by noon, but oh well. What can I do? I don't have a time machine other than a clock, but that doesn't send me to the past. I stayed up really late working on this castle. Some people were wondering how I made the pointed arches. Well, I create a plane, I split the plane in half, I add the mirror modifier, I hit Control R to make horizontal loop cuts, then I hit K to cut out the door section in the middle, right there. I flip it along the x-axis, or I rotate it along the x-axis, and then I move it forward a little bit, I elongate it, I put those red lines up, which are the seams, I'm marking seams, and I unwrap. Once when I've unwrapped it, I put in a darker base coat to paint a lighter texture on top of. Think like a chalkboard. I found through trial and error that if you paint dark on light, it usually doesn't do well for stone textures. You gotta do it the other way around. Light on dark. The part that gave me the most amount of trouble was the turret stairwell. This stairwell, it's at least I got this historically accurate, but it's a pain, and I did a very messy job with it too. There's a problem that I'm having, which is that the player cannot go up a step. So if any of you know how to code that, I don't know how to code that yet. And there's some other things I don't know how to code. Like the enemies are all in this drop down here. I want them to get into a drop down called NPCs. But I have to be able to figure out how to get the parent of the node's parent, if you know what I mean. If you know how to do that, please respond. And if you also know how to get rid of the blue hue on the player specifically when I add in a skybox, I'd appreciate that comment. So even the NPCs can't get into the stairwells. Either the towers are too small or the walls are too short on the castle. So I'm going to have to work that out too. The castle is in dire need of improvements, and the player animations are going to need more work. Otherwise, for right now, I'm going to leave combat where it is for the time being until I get other things figured out, such as swimming, inventory, NPC dialogue, cutscenes, and once when I get gear, make it to where you can put on different gear and equip different gear, then I'll return back to working on combat. Otherwise, I'm going to keep it where it is for right now. If you haven't seen our other videos, you can check them out. I made a video of a flying carpet game that I made. It's very simple. I plan to put that one on hold for the time being and return to it later when I figure out how to do a height map. And the final video is the first game that we created. It has a dragon and a treasure room. There's secret rooms full of obstacles like these rams that will knock you off. It's a lot of fun and it's a lot to discover in it. You can go on to dragonearth.games. Right now it's dragonearth.games. I don't know if it'll ever be a .com. And you can download it for yourself. Just note that you need 7-zip. And to keep the Godot icon inside the folder, but you can create a desktop shortcut. Oh, with all that out of the way, let's talk about some of this footage and what we might have in the future. Go ahead and comment about what kind of game you would like to see. Of course, we also have to make Ninth Night, but yeah, the stairwell was pretty bad. Still got to put roofs on the tops of the towers. A dead night right there. I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna do that stairwell. Maybe the camera, when it gets too close to the player will turn invisible. I think some games have responded with that. And there's no gatehouse to the castle yet, so I gotta make a gatehouse for it, or just redo the castle from the beginning. And we're gonna go up on the hill, and as I had mentioned earlier, yeah, the walls are too short. And that blue fog really adds to the scenery, makes it very scenic. And then you see mountains far away, and these oak trees. I know that's what oak trees look like in real life, but I really wanted to capture that look that you saw right there. Hope you enjoyed the video, everyone. And maybe next week I'll have another update video for you. Otherwise, this was Thomas Eubank, and I'm going to sign out now. Adios.